Let's see, I can't wait to read your next, let alone I need to get the God wife. Okay, well, thank you for that. I'm looking forward to you guys reading the next one. Hi, April. How you doing? April Newton, thank you for joining in tonight. But yeah, it's important, guys. Let me tell you something. You know, I would much rather be obedient over something that I'm resistant to do than be disobedient and then suffer the consequences. Obedience is always better than sacrifice. And I just thank God that I'm able to hear what he's saying and being obedient to that, because I don't want to know the consequences. When you don't feel like being a God wife, how do you maintain that? Okay. Let me say this. There are going to be days, and even the official God wife, April Young, has those days. Especially when, if you've had some time to be have a sense of independence, and then then comes the man that God has for you, and then you have to be that wife. I know sometimes we may not feel like it. Sometimes we may even get a little attitude. But all I can say is prayer is your best friend. Trust me, prayer is your best friend. Sometimes I have a wonderful husband now. God has blessed me. My God, my man of God. Oh my God, he's amazing. However, every day is not perfect. And I'll tell it, every day is not perfect. So I have to sometimes say, because I know that in my past, I was quick with the tongue. I would like, you're not going, whatever. God had to do something in me and with me in reference to that. So sometimes I have to say, God, please confound my tongue, because I know what I want to say. But if I say what I want to say, somebody's going to be hurt. Words are hard to take back. So I want to be able to say that thing that you put in me. God, give me the words to say to this man, because right now I got some choice words I want to say to him. Now I'm talking about my wonderful husband, that blessed man of God, the double dimple man. That's who I'm talking about. And so you're going to have those days. Every day is not perfect. So when you don't feel like it, sometimes you may have to separate yourself. You may have to say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to say anything right now. I'm just going to go off to myself. I need to pray. I need to get my devotional. I need to get a scripture or something. God, I need you to speak to me. And so that when I come back to my husband, or when I go back to my wife, I have said that which is pleasing to you. It's not easy, but it can happen. It's doable. I promise you it is. That's the problem I have, is saying the wrong thing. So I just tend not to say anything. Okay, let me definitely address that. What we don't want to do is, you have something that you want to share on your heart. And sometimes, depending on what the situation is, if you don't say something, it's going to be repetitive. You're going to keep saying the same thing over and over again. So at some point, it has to be addressed. So you want to make sure that when you go to that person, you always go to them in love. Always. And you may not always get it back, but you just know that you've done everything that you can possibly do. That's the right thing. And so rather than not say anything and just kind of like cower to, I'm just going to let it go. No, don't let it go. Don't let it slide. Because if it means that much to you to want to voice it, then by all means, do it. But do it with love. Always. Always do it with love. Okay. The next question, it says that when grace covers you, okay, fear has no place to reside. Fear is false evidence appearing real. 1 John 4:18 says, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves torment, but he who fears has not been made in perfect love. What have you done to release the fear and operate in the grace he has provided? Hi, Regina. Thank you for joining. Yes. Joshua, thank you. Thank you for joining, Joshua. Let me also talk about, someone mentioned the silent treatment. I have a phrase that I say to different women when I talk to them. Silence is golden. The silence treatment is not. There's a difference. There's a big difference. silence is golden in the sense of you want to say something that's going to just that may attack that person or be offensive or hurtful. But rather than do that, you remain silent, okay? And so that's safe. However, the difference in the silent treatment is you get an attitude because your husband got margarine instead of butter. Okay? You know you love butter in your recipes, and he brings home margarine, so you get an attitude. You throw the margarine in the trash can, and you walk up and you don't want to speak to him for 2 days. That's different. That's what you want to stay away from. The silent treatment, because that doesn't solve anything. Okay? There's a difference. So remember, silence is golden. However, the silence treatment is not. There's nothing golden about that. And so you want to make sure that, you know how your parents or your grandparents used to tell you, don't ever go to bed angry? That is so true. And so my husband and I both make sure that we don't do that. I might, men, you know how they do sometimes, but anyway. And how we can get, we can get that little attitude sometimes too. But with that being said, we do not want to be in a place where you go to bed angry. And I'm going to share something with you, and I don't mean to be damper Dana. But this is how, Minister Stephen, thank you for joining in. Thank you. There was a couple, you don't want to be in a place where it happened, a story where the husband and wife were angry at each other. And so the husband was going to leave to go to work, and normally you would kiss each other goodbye, I love you, have a say blessed day, be safe, or what have you. And then the next thing you know, because you had an attitude, you didn't want to kiss him that day, or he didn't want to kiss you that day, and you walk out the house. He's angry, she's angry. And lo and behold, something happens to that spouse, and you were not able to say, I love you, have a blessed day today. All because you were angry because that man didn't get something that you wanted at the store. That's what you don't want. You definitely don't want to do that. So every opportunity, sometimes you may have to take a minute apart, which is fine, but make sure you come back together and discuss and talk about it. Communication, I talk about communication in the book. Thank you, Minister Brown. Communication in the book is key. It's very important. And I also talk about how one is raised. You may grow up in a household where everybody's yelling at each other. Everybody's like, top of the lungs. Then you may grow up in a household where nobody spoke to anybody. No one said, I love you. No one said, I'm sorry. They never were apologetic. And then your two worlds meet. You have one that yelled when they grew in the household when they grew up, and you have another where they never apologized for anything. How do you handle that? It's hard, but you've got to come to a common ground and understand this. And again, prayer and having Christ as your center is the key. I promise you it's the key. And so we have to make sure that when we speak to each other, we're speaking to each other in love, period. And so this is the time for you to come together and set some new guidelines for your family, for your household. Just because mama and Johnny and daddy and mommy did it that way does not mean that you have to bring it into your household when you come together as a couple. It doesn't have to be. Start your own tradition. Start your own thing that you have a way of communicating with one another. That's very important. Very important. So relevant in our current climate. Yes, absolutely. Just today in the news, they've been talking about people now that we have to have this moment of separation. And it's been mandated from our government. We have on time that you have to go out is if you are going to work, or you have to get some essentials from the store. Other than that, you need to be in the home. You have some couples that are shifts in the night, 2 shifts in the night. You got a husband that may work in the morning, and then when he comes home, the wife is going to her job at night. So you're passing one another. Well, now both of you are forced to be at home with one another, and that's a whole nother beast. It's like, okay, how am I going to handle this? Okay, I'm looking at you now 24/7 almost. Oh my God. This is a time where you really need to connect and not be so angry and so mad because you're so used to having your space. You're used to doing things your way when you're at home. And so while they're at work, you're doing your thing. And then when he's at work, he's, and vice versa. You want to make sure that you take advantage of this time that you're together and you're connecting. Play some board games. That's something we got away from. Everything is technology now. Everybody wants to be on their devices. Well, take some time and play some Monopoly. Take some time and, play Uno. I've had some experience playing Uno, but I won't go into that, Sam and Robin, but okay. But anyway, you want to make sure that you spend that quality time. And so I'm thanking God. Yvonne, hi, you're right, my sister, my God bless you too as well, thank you. But you want to make sure you take that time because there's going to be a time when this thing is going to be lifted and it's going to be back to being ships in the night again. But at least you spent some quality time together and you maybe learn some things about each other because you've been apart so much. Take that time. Look at it as a positive and not so much as a negative. Francis, thank you so much for joining, Francis. Thank you. Okay. Now, this is something that I touched on a little bit earlier tonight, and it talks about, your gifts and other people respecting or having appreciation for that. And it says, we are all given gifts to give back to God. So don't be a hater when those who choose to use their gift or talent walk in the manifested promises of God. He is an equal opportunity God. God gives gifts to each of us. And so we don't want to be in a place where somebody's good at baking and, she starts her baking business. Somebody's good at, doing graphics and she started that. And then, that God has gifted you to be someone to, say, for instance, let's say, I don't know, write somebody's messages every week or whatever. And that you're gifted at doing that or writing a book or being a ghostwriter for someone. And you don't use it. Okay, and so now you're looking at the other person side-eye, looking at them sideways like, okay, well, who do you think you are? No, they're doing what God has purpose for them to do. It says, have you ever been envious or jealous of someone else's gift or talent? What things did you do to change? What are your gifts and how do you plan to utilize them? Some of y'all are sitting on gifts right now. God has blessed you to be a blessing. Some of you can cook like none other. Some of you have even gone to culinary school. You're not doing anything with that gift. Some of you have been gifted to transport people from one place to the other. You decide, well, I'm not going to do that. Or to be a caregiver to someone. God has gifted us each with something. And so you want to make sure that you are utilizing those gifts that God has called you to. And there's no need being jealous or envious of somebody else that's doing what God has called for them to do. You too have a gift. So I encourage you to do that. Hi, Cynthia Hawthorne. How you doing? Diane, thank you for joining tonight. Anytime, any questions or comments or anything, feel free to type them in. Okay, I'll read another one. Life can be challenging, but how you overcome it can be very rewarding. How have you overcome the challenges of life? What are your plans to stay there? What are some of the challenges that you all have faced and some changes you made to change your situation? Also, I meant, okay, let's see, Kiana. That's me sitting on my gifts, but I'm just nervous because I have been rejected so much with my ideas that I just shut down. Wow. You know what, Kiana, I can truly relate to that, and there are some others that are in your shoes as well, because they've gotten rejections for something. I can truly understand. Rejection is my challenge now, which I stay in a shell. Okay, and I can understand that as well. People have a tendency to put a damper on someone else's ideas, or if the ideas may even sound better than theirs, and they of course automatically reject it because it's coming from you and it was something that they thought of. You have to look at it like this. When you're going to get rejection no matter what stage of life that you're in, but that should never be a reason for you to stop doing or stop doing what you believe God is saying for you, whether it's an idea, whether it's something like for me, for instance, I stopped singing, and this is when I'll be transparent again. I stopped singing, and I've always sang. From my childhood into high school, I was always in the choral ensembles and different things like that. And I had someone tell me one time that they said some things. Well, no, I don't think you're ready for this, or you're not ready for the choir, you're not ready for that. That haunted me for a long time, for many years, until a few years ago. And I know that when I was in choir, and my choral director, Mr. Swigert, at Hampton High School, always told me, he said, I want you to be able to sing. He said, you have a beautiful voice. I need you to sing up. But because of the fear, and because of people saying, oh, what in the world is she trying to do? What, my God, what? So you allow things to get into your ear gate. But when you know in your heart of hearts what God has positioned you to do, and you know that God has, once again, mandated you to do something, whether it's an idea that you come up with, don't ever give up on a dream. Don't ever give up on an idea. You might get 10 no's before you get that one yes, period. And so when I began to sing in the choir again, it was something that I love to do. And I still deal with that now, because there's sometimes God will put a song on my heart, and I just won't do it for the fear of being rejected or turned down again, like I was many years ago. And so you can't let that stop you. You cannot let that stop you. And so my challenge would be for you to, the rejection may come, but you know that yes is coming. You're going to get that yes. So please be encouraged. Don't give up on anything that you dream to do or aspire to do. Myrna, thank you for joining. Thank you. Hello. Okay. Let's see. We've got a couple more questions. Anything else? And then we're going to end shortly. Hold on one second. I have a question here. It says, now I think we've addressed this, but I have a quote for that. It says, reflection doesn't mean to look back. It means to take in what you see, then begin to make the necessary changes. Now, what changes are you willing to make concerning your attitude towards your husband? Anita. My problem is, I feel there are a lot of people already doing what people have been telling me for years, that I'm called. Hold on, I'm trying to get the rest of the question. Hold on. Let's see. Okay. Already doing what people have been telling me for years that I'm called to do. Okay. You can't allow that to stop you either. I mean, think about it like this. Look at how many people are baking cakes, and how many cupcake companies and bakeries we have. There are tons and tons and tons of those already there, but that does not mean that another one can't come up and be just as good, if not better. So, So no, don't ever feel like because it's already being done that it can't be done again. Because There's always going to be someone that can be able to come up and do it better, be more innovative with it. So your idea to come up with something that someone is already doing, yours may be more innovative. So don't ever be afraid to do what it is that you feel that God is calling you to. Hi, Karen. Karen Palmer, thank you for joining tonight. Okay, so anyone on changes or attitude changes that need to do concerning their husband? That's question 15 in Noteworthy. Hi, Nicole. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining, Nicole. Nicole Cooper, thank you. Now, this is one that I think is important, and it kind of rims on the of the self-esteem portion of it. I know many of us have dealt with self-esteem at some point or another, and then there may be some that may not have. But when you love and know who you are, you will answer to who God says you are. Okay? Take a moment to look at how you feel about yourself. Are you happy with who God has created you to be? Are you willing to accept that you are not a mistake, but a miracle manifested? Wow.